excuse the lighting situation here. It's about like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Day 7 of my cycle. I'm still bleeding, by the way. So I bled for like 3 days from Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Didn't really bleed on Saturday, Sunday or Monday. No blood at all. Then this morning started bleeding again a little bit and I was like, that's a bit weird. And also, I think it was last night, I had a little bit of pain in my right hip, which I suspect is the side that I'm ovulating from this cycle because I tend to alternate quite regularly. That's what I've always done. Anyway, my clinic said to start testing from the day I had my first scan, which is tomorrow, but I thought I'll just take one today. And this is what I've got. So this is still technically a negative ovulation test, but that is not as negative as I thought it would be this early in my cycle. Oh my God. So I'm going to take one of these clear blue ones, but I've got a horrible feeling that I'm ovulating a lot earlier than I was hoping to this cycle. So I'm going to take this and see what it says, and then I'm going to have to dash out to my living room because I'm still working and check what my Teams is saying, but oh, I can't get out the bloody package. Oh, damn it. It says I can't use this holder again. I bet that means the battery's dead. And to be honest, these test sticks have supposedly expired as well. Right, I'm going to have to order a new one, but I'm going to just dip this in because it will show me on here like what it's saying. It won't give me a flashy smiley face or, you know, a solid smiley face, which is what I'm kind of hoping for. I'm going to hold on to this urine and then I'm going to see if I can go grab a new pack somewhere. Oh my God, typical. This is just so typical. Okay, it's going across now. The more I look at this little test, the more I'm like, I'm about to be fertile. Fuck. I've got my first scan tomorrow and I'm like, am I actually going to need to do an IUI tomorrow? Day 8, that's the earliest possible. And I think if it was any other month, I might skip it because that's so early. I mean, in theory, it doesn't affect the quality of the egg. It should still be fine. This might just be because I've come off the pill and my cycle's a bit like, oh, what's going on? But the quality of the egg should still be fine. But like my lining's not going to be where it should be because of ovulating earlier. Oh my God. This is so annoying. Okay, I just rang my mum because I was like, I need this clear blue digital test. Luckily, she's just going into town. So she said she'd go pick some up for me and bring it back later. And I still saved my urine, so I can test that one. But I did stick the actual just stick bit in and it's not as positive as I thought it might be. I wonder if it'll show up. There you go. So that first line on this test, when I've taken them out before and it's been like you're ovulating, this first line here is super dark. Like it's pretty much all this line, virtually none of that line. But as you can see, there are 2 lines on here. So I'm fairly confident that I've not had a peak yet. And this, like even this, oh God, like you can still see it's pretty similar in darkness, but even that is not peak yet. So it's just a question now. I'd be surprised if I'm not going to ovulate now in the next couple of days, or get a positive ovulation test in the next couple of days. It's just a question now of whether I get the peak this evening or tomorrow, because I can't imagine it's going to be neither. And I really need to see whether this test has a flashing smiley face yet or not, because I don't think it would show a solid smiley face, but I think there's a good chance it might be a flashing smiley face, and so I just need to be aware of that. Oh my God. But it would be ironic if I was supposed to be going for a scan tomorrow and I have to call them up in the morning and be like, think I might need an IUI instead done, but they still need to scan me because God knows what my lining's doing because I'm bleeding again today. Like I don't know if my lining would be thick enough for it to be a healthy implantation, which would really suck if I have to skip this cycle. Oh, but no, it is what it is. We'll just have to see. I just have to get that test, see what this does, and then see what's happening. I was not expecting this. I thought that the biggest thing I would have to worry about this cycle was this Sunday, because it's Tuesday today, and I was thinking, you know, Sunday is day 12 of my cycle, and last cycle I ovulated on day 11. My clinic don't do IUIs on Sundays. They're not open on Sundays. They don't do anything on a Sunday. So I was thinking if it got to like Friday and it was looking like I was going to ovulate on Sunday, they were going to have to give me a trigger shot to ovulate on day 11, which I was kind of hoping to avoid, as I've talked about before. But like, if I was going to be fine, it was just like whether or not Sunday was going to be an issue, whether I was going to ovulate early again. But it looks like I'm going to be ovulating even earlier, so the Sunday thing might not be the issue. It might just be an issue of whether my body's actually ready for me to do an IUI cycle this month with like it ovulating so much earlier. Oh my God. Right, I just have to wait and see, but I don't know how I'm gonna get any work done tonight. I'm going ice skating later as well, and my head's just gonna be all over the place. Oh, bless my mum, she went out and got the new pack for me. So I'm just gonna open this now and take a test. You might hear Oren in the background, he's not a happy bunny today. Okay, let's see if this one's gonna work any better. Yep, it's flashing, it's doing what it's supposed to do. Flash, 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 and then it should tell me to stick it in the urine, if I remember rightly. Yes. Oh, right, okay, I've just come back to it after changing Oren, and it's a solid circle. Thank the Lord. If I eject it, yeah, see, that is a pretty negative test to me. Okay, we will see what the next few days bring. It is now the morning of cycle day 8, and I took a test at about 8:40 with second morning urine. And this is what the easy at home looks like. See, that second line is still fairly dark. And this is what clear blue is doing. Flashing smiley face. So I definitely look like I'm ovulating earlier this cycle, which is kind of what I expected based off of these. So anyway, it'll be interesting to see, but it's not a solid smiley face, so it'll be interesting to see when I actually do get that peak, and also really curious to see what happens at the fertility clinic today and what they see on the scan, because I have no other signs yet of ovulation. I talked about I had that like pain in my hip. I didn't have that yesterday. My cervical mucus hasn't changed yet, which is usually a big sign for me. With ovulating, it becomes like really sticky and thicker and stuff, and that hasn't happened yet. So this flashing smiley face can happen any day, like up to 4 days before you actually ovulate. So that's what we'll have to see on the scan today. But definitely looks like I'm going to be having this IUI done before Sunday, as long as my lining and everything looks okay. So we'll just have to see what happens at the appointment later. It is about 1:30 on cycle day 8, which is the 27th of November. I have just got back from the clinic from my scan, and good news. Oh my God, I cannot tell you, like my stomach was in knots on that drive over. I was thinking, oh my God, why am I ovulating so early? What's going on? Anyway, went to the scan and she was like, actually, you're on track for where we'd expect you for day 8. Doesn't look like I'm gonna ovulate anytime soon, thank the Lord. So I can't remember whether I have 2 or 3 follicles measuring 11 millimeters. Honestly, I was so relieved when she said there wasn't like a dominant one, that I blanked out the rest. But I know there were at least 2 11 millimeter follicles, 1 on each ovary. And my right ovary had another one that was 8 millimeters. I think there might have been 2 11 millimeters on that one. I can't quite remember. But either way, I suspect it will be my right ovary that ovulates this month, because it was my left last month that went, but it doesn't always work like that. But I've now got another scan booked in for Friday. So basically, no chance of having an IUI today or tomorrow. Unlikely to be Friday as well, unless something massive happens. But I would guess at this point, based off of the average growth of follicles, that I'm likely to either have my IUI on Saturday or on Monday. So it'll be interesting to see which way that goes. But I have another scan booked in for Friday morning, and obviously I have to keep testing up until that point to see what happens. But hopefully on Friday we'll see a dominant follicle, and it'll either be small enough that we can leave it for Monday, or it's big enough and I get a positive test. The only thing I'm thinking of is if I don't get a positive peak on my own, that they're probably going to want to give me a hormonal trigger shot, which is what I was trying to avoid. But it's so ironic, because before yesterday, like I would have been in a tiz about this, like, oh my God, I might be ovulating like before Sunday, and it would be really early. But oh my God, having had several hours to think about, like potentially ovulating on day 8 or like day 9, to be thinking about getting to day 11 is honestly like, that's the dream at this point. So we'll just have to see what happens. The only other thing is, when she looked at my lining, she was like, your lining's still kind of thin, but there's also still a bit of blood still to come from this period. And like I said, I was spotting yesterday, well, bleeding lightly yesterday. So that has got to come out probably by Friday in order for this cycle to go ahead. So that's the other thing that could potentially scupper it. It looks like my ovulation's going to be fine this time, but it's just whether or not my lining's gone. So I'm just hoping that that clears itself out today, tomorrow, and you know, we're all good to go on that score. But yeah, otherwise it was good news. I sat in that chair being so relieved, was just so happy not to be anywhere near ovulating just yet. So at least I've got another couple of days, and the longer it waits, the better I feel about it. So That's good. It is the 28th of November and it is cycle day 9. I have continued testing today. It's now 6 p.m. in the evening, and I have been sticking them in my little book. So the 2 tests that I had today, interestingly, I don't know if you can see, but they're actually fainter than the other tests that I've taken. So I put these into the Premom app, which I am now using. This one I think was like 0.18 and this was 0.23, and these were like, well, this one up here was like a 0.42, so they definitely got a bit paler, which actually is a good thing for me. And so I've been writing like the cycle day down, so that's the first one, cycle day 7, the 2 I did yesterday on cycle day 8, and then the 2 today on cycle day 9. That's what the CD9 stands for, morning and PM. As you can see on cycle day 7, I got just a solid circle on the clear blue digital. This is what this line is here. And then since yesterday morning, I've had a flashy smiley face. However, I read the packaging again this morning and I've realised, I don't know if this is new with the clear blue digital. I could have sworn they didn't do this before, but they now say the flash, you can get 4 or more of your fertile days that show up. So I'm pretty confident before that you only ever got the flashing smiley face for like 2 days before your cycle was due to come. Well, that's what they used to say. But they now say like you could get that flashy smiling face for longer. So potentially I could have another day of it. It has now stopped flashing at me, but it did flash again both this morning and this evening. So I'm really curious to see what happens tomorrow with that and whether I have another day of it. However, because I've not had a peak today on cycle day 9, that means I definitely won't be having an IUI tomorrow on cycle day 10, so I will not be having an IUI any earlier than cycle day 11, which I'm really relieved about, which is kind of ironic because before Tuesday this week, cycle day 11 would have felt like way too early for me and I'd have been really worried about that, but having like had that like mild panic on Tuesday that I potentially could ovulate on day 8, given like how dark that test looked, although I'd get a surge on day 8, I should say, and might need to have the IUI done on cycle day 9 today. Getting to cycle day 11 feels really good. And actually, I suspect it's either going to be Saturday, which will be cycle day 11 for me, or Monday, which will be cycle day 13. The clinic is obviously closed on a Sunday, so it will all depend on what happens at my scan tomorrow morning. If my follicle has developed really quickly, I think it's got to get to like 18 millimeters. If it's got to 18 millimeters, then they'll want to trigger me, I think, and then have the IUI done on the Saturday, which I've kind of been coming to terms with, and I'd be okay if they want to do that. It's still later than the last time, because the first time around I've had IUI, it was today that they actually triggered me. It was day 9, and I had the IUI done on day 10, which I think was just too soon for me. So day 11 is still another day for that egg to fully mature. Or if it's not grown, or if it's growing as I expect it's growing, I think it's more likely to be Monday. Potentially longer than that, but I think more likely to be Monday. So really curious to see what happens tomorrow. It is Friday, 29th of November. I had my scan this morning and it's kind of mixed. So follicle-wise, everything looks good. Interestingly, it is the one dominant follicle on my left that is dominant now, so 40 millimeters, so it looks like I'm going to ovulate for my left side again. I took my ovulation test this morning and still negative, and my follicle is now 14 millimeters, which means it's growing around like 1.5 millimeters a day, which is exactly bang on what it should do. So no need to trigger today, definitely not going to ovulate tomorrow or on Sunday, so I've got another scan booked in for Monday. So my follicle is tracking like absolutely perfectly. However, the fluid is still in my uterus. So that, she said to me, that has to go by Monday or we can't do this cycle. So I'm feeling a bit disheartened by that. I just feel like this round has been a complete emotional roller coaster of like, you know, one moment thinking, oh my God, am I ovulating early? And then being like, no, it's not. And then, you know, going and finding my follicle's fine, but I've got this fluid. And then I thought that it'd come out on Wednesday because I had a little bit of like black-brown discharge, but it hasn't. I'm just like, oh God, please just something go right. So yeah, anyway, I've got this weekend for it to come out, so we'll just have to see. I think I'm gonna have to try and be as active as possible and see if that can encourage it to shift a bit. But yeah, if it's still there on my scan on Monday at midday, then they're gonna have to cancel this cycle. And because it's Christmas time, that means I won't be able to do my next cycle either. It'll have to wait till January, so that's a shame. It's that will be sad if I can't do that. I also didn't test with the clear blue digital this morning because I realised, I went online last night and I read, because I was thinking, I can't believe I'm going to ovulate soon, and I thought this only showed for 2 days, and like I said, I did some more research, it said it can show for more. And then I went on to like Google and came across a Mumsnet thread, which is obviously, you know, very reliable. But lots of people there saying that they'd had that flashing smiley face for like 6 days, 8 days, 9 days in some cases. And basically once you've got a flashing smiley face, it won't then go back to a solid circle, even if it like didn't read that cycle correctly. If you're using the same holder for it basically. So it'll just, every time I take it out, it'll continue to show a flashing smiley face until I get a peak. So I figured no point in doing that now. I'm just going to take these little strip tests that I'm doing, continue doing that. And when one of them looks darker, I will then take the clear blue and see what it says then. But otherwise, yeah, I'm not going to bother with that because it'd be a waste of money. They'll just keep flashing at me. It's 8 p.m. now, still Friday the 29th of November, still cycle day 10. And I've kind of come through my feeling sad phase that I had this morning after I got the news that the fluid is still in my uterus and it needs to come out by Monday or the cycle can't go ahead. And in all likelihood, it's still going to be there. So I sat with that for like an hour or two, just feeling really sad about that. And then I came through that and got into like the practical mode that my mind shifted into. And I'm now taking like the kitchen sink approach to this weekend, where I'm just going to do everything I physically can to try and shift this fluid and get it to come out so that we can have a shot with this cycle. So the reason I'm currently sitting like this is because I've been looking at some like reflexology points that can help like stimulate period to start, which is the closest thing I can find to like basically getting this fluid out, because I need like my lining to shed basically, to shed this last bit of fluid from the last cycle. So I've been doing some reflexology points today. I'm obviously in my Udi, I sit in this anyway, but I've also got a lavender bag on my stomach to keep it warm, because you want to keep the area really warm. I'm going to go for a long walk with my friend tomorrow with our toddlers, and hopefully like vigorous exercise will help with that too. Well, not that vigorous, just, exercise, moving about, I feel like is a good thing to do too. I bought some ginger today to make some ginger tea this evening. I hate ginger. I'm still traumatized from my first pregnancy with like people constantly telling me to have ginger with nausea, and it did absolutely nothing. But I will try anything. So ginger apparently is something that can help like stimulate your uterus to contract, which is what I need to get this fluid out. So we're going to try that. What else? Oh, I'm going to have a hot bath later, and I'm also going to do some uterus massage. I've been doing some massage too. I've done that previously when I was trying to help my period pain. I found some like uterus massages that I could do. So all in all, kitchen sink. We're just going to see what happens. Oh, the other thing I've done is I've booked a reflexology appointment for tomorrow morning. I could only get half an hour at 8:30 because realistically we're not going to make it any earlier than that. I'm going to have to put Oren in the car, go to my parents' house, drop him off there. My mum very kindly has agreed to have him for half an hour, and then I'll run up, have my reflexology appointment. She's really good, so I figured if anyone can get this fluid shifted, it's her. This massage lady who I've been to several times before, went to throughout my pregnancy for like pregnancy massage. It was lovely. So I'm gonna give her a try, and I feel like if on Monday the fluid's still there, at least I'll think, well, I gave it everything I could. I gave it my best shot, and this is where we're at now. So that's my approach for the next 2 days, is just to see, can I get this fluid shifted before that scan on Monday? And I'm going to give it every opportunity to do that. Good morning. It is Monday the 2nd of December, and it is cycle day 13 for me. Once again, the book is back. So I took a test this morning and it's still negative. I thought it might look a little bit darker, so I decided to take the clear blue out of interest, because I haven't taken it now for like 3 days yet, not since cycle day 9. So it's managed to reset the settings on here, and hang on, I just need to eject it because it's been longer. You can see it's just a solid circle today. So that's really interesting. The stick as well kind of shows it's pretty negative. Yeah, so nothing at the moment. I was curious to see what this would say, this digital would say, because this morning I had some really thick, sticky discharge, which is typically what you get like when you're coming up close to ovulating. So I'm now fairly confident that I'm only like a day or two away from getting my LH surge. I don't think it'll happen today. I mean, who knows? Honestly, this thing has been so random this cycle that I'm tempted to just... I'm not really paying much attention to this, to be honest. I'm paying much more attention to these sticks. So I will probably continue to test that again, but I will want to use that more as like a confirmation when I get what I think is a peak ovulation test, and see what that says. And if I get 2 peaks, that kind of gives reconfirmation to me. I do have my scan at 12:40. It's currently 11 o'clock. So basically in like 2-ish hours time. I haven't had any more bleeding. I was trying everything this weekend, literally anything I could think of, and it hasn't helped. The thick like cervical discharge I had this morning did have like a couple of flakes of like brown in there, but like a flake is being a bit generous, to be honest. It was like tiny amounts. I don't think it is the fluid that's come out of me. It was too thick for that. It was more like subcutaneous mucus. So I suspect that fluid's still going to be there, in which case this cycle is probably going to be cancelled, which is really gutting. But I feel like I've had the weekend to almost... I don't know if I've processed it yet. I think it'll still hit me when she actually says that, if it is still there. But my game plan for the moment is to, if it is still there, to say to her, if I do bleed before my like time of ovulation, can I call and come in for another scan? And if it's gone, then can I go ahead with the IUI? Or is it that at this point it's too close to having the IUI that even if it was to go on the day, that it would still be a problem? It could still be toxic to the embryo. Because if that's the case, then like I don't want to risk it. Obviously, you know, sperm's very expensive. But yeah, I need to know what my options are. But I feel like today, I'm hoping today I'll get a clearer picture of what this week's going to be like. By the end of this week, I will know whether or not I've been able to, I will have either had the IUI or it would have been cancelled. So I will have clarity by the end of this week at least. But yeah, it is pretty heart-wrenching, to be honest, to think that I might not be able to even try this cycle. So we'll just have to wait and see. So I just got back from my scan and it's good news. I couldn't believe it. The fluid is still there, but she said it's moved much further down. It's now just like under my C-section scar. And because it's not high up, it's now not an issue and it's probably going to come out anyway. So we're good to go ahead with this cycle. I'm honestly shocked. I genuinely thought that it was still there and I was going to have to cancel. I was absolutely distraught this morning, like really felt so low. I went into that appointment being like, yeah, I think it's still there. And she did the scan and she was like, oh no, everything looks good. And I was like, what? Are you serious? I genuinely was shocked. I couldn't believe it, but I'm so excited. And like the joy that washed over me when I realized I could try this cycle was just immense. So anyway, she scanned me. Lining all looks good now. Pop that little bit of fluid down by my kind of near my cervix. My C-section scar's obviously quite low down, which apparently is not an issue. And lining otherwise looks great. My follicle is now, it is my left side and it's now 17 millimeters. So I suspect that I'm going to get a positive LH stick tomorrow, maybe Wednesday. It just depends. I doubt it'll be today, but I'll obviously test this afternoon, but I think most likely tomorrow, Wednesday. And so I'll probably have my IUI done Wednesday or Thursday, depending on which day I get the positive test. But it's so exciting. And the other good news is that that is now it for scans, because they've been monitoring this follicle and everything looks good and my lining is now fine. I don't have to go back for any more scans. I literally just have to contact them when I get that positive ovulation stick, and then they'll book in the IUI for the following day, which does make life easier because the clinic is like 20-30 minutes away from where I live, so I've been having to schedule all these appointments either in my lunch break or like before my work day starts, and then have my laptop with me to start working afterwards. And so not needing any more is a bit of a relief. Good morning. It is cycle day 14, 3rd of December, I think. I have just taken an ovulation test, the little strip test, and I'm just waiting for the digital now. It's still negative, but again, it looks dark today. I mean, my urine is fairly concentrated this morning, so it could just be that. But I'm kind of hoping I do get my surge today, so it's obviously not now. But hopefully, it'd be good if it was this afternoon. And the only reason for that is that tomorrow is actually a fairly quiet day for me work-wise, so it's kind of the best day for me to take some time off if I need to go and have this IUI done. But Thursday's not terrible either, so either would work. So yesterday my follicle was like 17 millimeters. It's quite funny when you see them on the scan, because they go from like these smaller black holes to this like gaping black hole, and you get like a really large follicle. So it was 17 millimeters yesterday, and they grow at around 1.5 millimeters a day. So I guess we're going to be around 18.5 today. From memory, when I had Orin, I think I got my surge the day that my follicle was around 21 millimeters. So I think it's slightly more likely that I'll get a positive tomorrow, possibly even the day after that, but it shouldn't be any later than that. I think today or tomorrow, probably tomorrow, is most likely for it to happen. So we just have to see. Ooh, okay, so flashing smiley face is back. Not a peak, that's good, because this test is quite clearly saying it's not a peak yet. It does look kind of dark. I'm curious to see what the pre-mam app says. So I would have actually been concerned if this had a solid smiley face, but yeah, flashing smiley face is back. So I guess we will see whether peak happens this afternoon, unlikely I think, tomorrow, most likely, or the day after. Excuse the washing machine in the background, but I've just put this test through the pre-mam app, and interestingly, I don't know if you can see, but I think it's got slightly darker as I've left it to go for a couple more minutes. So those lines are looking almost as dark as each other now. And when I put it through the app, it's come back with a reading of 0.56. I don't know if you can see that on here. Basically, it gives you a reading down the side telling you what it thinks it is, which is apparently a low, but 0.56 is the highest reading that I've got so far with one of these tests. Even in the early days when they were a bit darker, the highest I got was 0.44. So looking at this test just visually and also getting that reading, I think there's actually a good chance it might be this afternoon, but certainly I think now it'll either be this afternoon or tomorrow. Good morning. It is 4th of December. I've lost the plot, honestly. I think it's 4th of December. And it's cycle day 15. I've just taken the Easy at Home strip test, and I'd say that that is peak. So I'm going to take the Clearly Digital and see what that says. So the digital is still going, but I've just put this test through the Pre-Mum app and it has come back at high. That is the first high reading that I've had. So that's really exciting. So I'm really curious to see if this shows as peak or not. Because you can get tests where like the first line is what we call a dye stealer, where basically this line is really dark and this line's quite faint. But I've often had months where it doesn't do that. So I personally, if I was just going off the sticks, I would count this as a peak. So that's why I'm really curious to see if the clear blue confirms that, if that puts it at peak as well, because then I will definitely call the clinic this morning and book in for a morning ovulation IUI. If it doesn't, I'll continue to test through the day, but I think I don't know what I'll do then. Hopefully this does match up. We got a solid smiley face. Yes! So we have officially got our peak. So now I just need to call the clinic and then we'll see what they say. Good morning. It is IUI day. It's cycle day 16 for me and it is the 5th of December. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 5th of December today. So I called the clinic yesterday, played a bit of phone tag with them for a while, but they called me back and said that I'm booked in for my IUI this afternoon at 2 o'clock. That's the time that my doctor decided to do it. And I'm really curious to see if I have the same doctor who does the IUI, because one thing I've noticed with this time around is I went to the same clinic that I went to when I had Orin, mainly for like distance reasons. It's a bit more close than other clinics. And that's actually been a majorly good thing since I changed jobs, obviously, when starting this fertility treatment, because it's made life a lot easier with that. But last time they really weren't that good with the admin side of things, and you don't have like a specific doctor that you're guaranteed, so you just would go and see whoever was there on the day, and it was fine. Obviously it worked, but this time around it's been really interesting because I've had the same doctor for pretty much every appointment, with the exception of the consultation I had, because you have a scan and then you have an online consultation. The doctor who did my scan is the same doctor that I've had through all my scans with my IUI, but the doctor who did my consultation was different. But since I had my first scan for this treatment cycle, and actually the doctor who prescribed me the levothyroxine as well, it's all been the same one. So I'm really curious to see if she ends up being the one doing the IUI today. But it doesn't really matter because it's more important that the timing's done right than it is the doctor who does it. But yeah, that's something that's fascinated me. And their admin has definitely been better this time around, because I had a phone call when the nurse was running late to tell me she was running late, and I would never have got that the first time around, and I haven't had to like chase paperwork the same way last time. I don't know, but I don't know if there's been like a change or shift in management or they've taken feedback, but it definitely feels like it's been a bit better this time, so that's really interesting. Here is the completed ovulation stick chart that I've been doing, so you can see faint, well, fairly faint, and then obviously much darker, these two. I did one, this is the one I did in the morning where I got the peak smiley face, and then I did another one in the evening. And actually, interestingly, when I put them onto the Pre-Mum app, the one that I did at 5 p.m. yesterday was slightly lighter than the one I'd done in the morning, so it's now showing that morning one as peak on the app. So that's really encouraging as well. So, fingers crossed, everything today goes good, and yeah. All done. Just gotta wait and see if it works now. So it's about 9:30 now in the evening. I had my IUI done earlier today. Ended up being at about 2:30, I think. I've got to keep my voice down because Oren's literally asleep next door there. But all went well. I arrived, there was a little bit of a delay. I was slightly worried because they came out with my form, because you have to sign a consent form, several consent forms, before going through fertility treatment and donor conception. And the donor form I'd filled in, I hadn't put the sperm donor name down, so the sperm bank gives you like a code or a name for a specific donor, and the bank that I use, they give their sperms like aliases, so they have a name that's not the name of the actual donor, but it's like what they call the donor on their website. And I hadn't told them that, but there was a bit of a miscommunication because I'd written like the sperm bank name on it, and she was like, no, you need to put the code on. And I was like, oh, I don't have a code, I just have the donor name. And she was like, you only have the sperm bank name? And I was like, it was a bit lost in translation. But anyway, eventually we managed to establish that I did need to write the actual name down, and that was fine. I just had to write on the form and then sign it and date it, and then they accepted that, and that was fine. But then they had to obviously go and thaw the sperm, so it took a little bit longer. But it must be quieter being the Christmas, kind of coming up to the Christmas period, because I was the only patient that I saw whilst there. I don't know if any of them were in the consultation rooms, but sometimes I've been in, it's quite busy. But like in both like the normal waiting area where I've had scans done and the actual like recovery area and the theatre room where I had the procedure done, I was the only patient there today, so that was interesting. So anyway, once that was resolved, I was taken down, I got changed into my gown and stuff that you saw, and then went in, and oh my god, I really needed to pee. The last time around when I conceived Oren, I hadn't drunk enough water, so they ended up just not doing the ultrasound, they just did it without it. But I remembered this time I needed to have a full bladder, but I think it was slightly too full because it was quite uncomfortable. And then I went in, and it's like the embryologist comes out and speaks to you and says, is this the right donor? This is your name on the sperm, because they put your name on the sperm, not just the donor name. And then I had a wristband on that they scanned, and it all matched up, and that was fine, all the double checks. And then the doctor did it, and it was the same doctor. It was the same doctor who's done all my scans, so that was really nice to have her. And yeah, the worst bit of the whole procedure, without question, is the speculum. That is the only part that I find painful about this whole like fertility journey. The scans, they're fine. The vaginal ultrasounds, they're not comfortable, but they're not painful. But the speculum, oh god, I hate it. Luckily it's only like 2 minutes, but I'm literally like gritting my teeth there, and she's like, okay, I'm putting the catheter in. Don't feel the catheter at all. When they inject the sperm, don't feel that at all. But that speculum, hate it. And everything else good. She said that my cervix was open, which is another good sign that I am ovulating, which as I expected, because I've obviously been testing. So now we just have to keep our fingers crossed and see what happens. Oh, they also gave me some other information. So I got like a leaflet with information of what to do post IUI, which is the usual instructions about like, don't do anything strenuous, don't have any hot baths, steam rooms, etc. But interestingly, so they gave me the details of the sperm motility, which I think this time was like 18 million, which is really good, so that's great. As I said, I thought this was my best vial, and I did mention that to the embryologist, and he was like, to be honest, once you go above a certain number, it doesn't really matter, as long as it's good enough, it should work. So that was also reassuring, even if this one doesn't work. But it was a good vial of sperm, and interestingly, there's no mention on here of having a pregnancy blood test, which I definitely had both times around last time I did this. They just say to take a regular pregnancy test and call them with the result. So I think that might be something different that they've done, potentially to cut down on costs but keep the IUI costs down. Because that I definitely had to go in. I had to book a blood test like at the point I had my IUI last time, but this time around I didn't have to do that, so that's definitely something new. And actually I kind of prefer that, because it means I have one less like blood test that I have to go to the clinic for and try and fit that in around work. I just have to take a pregnancy test at home, so that's absolutely fine by me. It also gives you the date of which they want you to test for pregnancy, but I will definitely be testing earlier than that. I'm going to try my best to hold out until 10 days post IUI. Obviously no trigger shot this cycle, so I don't have to worry about any false results, but I started testing early last time and it drove me mad, and so I think I really want to, both times last time I started testing early, so this time I really want to try and hold out until 10 days past ovulation, because that's the first day I think it's realistic that you'll ever get any kind of confirmed answer. We'll just have to wait and see if I can do it. I don't currently have any decent pregnancy tests. I have those cheapy ones that I bought, which they didn't even ask me for. I probably could have got away with not buying them anyway. That's a bit annoying. But they're not good enough to do early testing with, so I don't think that'll tempt me, but I'm going to try and resist buying the first responses, the really good ones, until I'm at least like 8 DPO, so that they have time to arrive and then be ready for me on the morning of 10 DPO. So that's my current plan. We'll see if I stick to it.